Good afternoon. Welcome, guys. It's, it's my pleasure to start another series of videos, maths tutorials. In these videos, I will be selecting a specific topic or a specific area in mathematics where I will be solving or I will be trying to show people how to solve such problems. Okay. Normally, I don't like to use the word problem in mathematics because if it is a problem, nobody likes a problem. So I will be assisting people on how to tackle questions of various topics, those in high school. And therefore, I will start with my first maths tutorial today to test the waters. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more maths tutorials. The channel's name is Smart_Traveler Memos. So welcome, guys, to my first tutorial in mathematics. So the first maths tutorial is going to be on the topic Mastering Applied Geometry or Applied Geometry, and I'll specifically deal with scale drawing and bearing. So those are the things I'm going to explain. And as I said earlier, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more maths tutorials. Smart_Traveler Memos. So the first question was 1995 paper 1 number 4. And the question was on Manyata village is 74 kilometers northwest of Nyangate village. Chamwe village is 42 kilometers west of Nyangate. By using an appropriate scale drawing, find the bearing of Chamwe from Manyata. So guys, this is the way you should attack such a question, or you should solve such a question. Step 1. Choose an appropriate scale. For example, use a scale of 1 centimeter equals 10 kilometers. This would mean 74 kilometers would be equivalent to 7.4 centimeters, and for the 2 kilometers will be equivalent to 4.2 centimeters. So guys, may I just adjust so that we don't say we are misusing equal signs? So guys, I wanted to correct, because when you say 74 equals 7.4 centimeters, that is not true in mathematics, so I say equivalent, all right? That sign means 74 kilometers on the ground would be represented by 7.4 centimeters. Step 2. Draw the positions of the villages. Start by drawing Nyangate village. Place Nyangate at the origin or a central point on your paper. Draw the position of Manyata village. From Nyangate Draw a line at a northwest direction, which is 315 degrees on a compass for 7.4 centimeters, representing 74 kilometers. Mark this point as Manyata. Draw the position of the Chamwe village. From Nyangate, draw a line directly west, which is 270 degrees on a compass for 4.2 centimeters, representing 42 kilometers. Mark this point as Chamwe. Step 3. Determine the bearings of Chamwe from Manyata. Connect Manyata to Chamwe. Draw a straight line from Manyata to Chamwe. Measure the bearing. Use a protractor to measure the angle from the north line through Manyata to the line connecting Manyata to Chamwe. Bearings are measured clockwise from the north, so the angle you measure will give you the bearing of Chamwe from Manyata. Final answer. After measuring with the protractor, you should find the bearing of Chamwe from Manyata. Since the specific drawing isn't provided here, the exact bearing cannot be calculated, but this method will give you the correct answer on a physical drawing. You should get a bearing of approximately 255 degrees from Manyata to Chamwe based on the typical geometry of the situation. So guys, that is my question number 1. Question number 2. A port B is on a bearing 80 degrees from a port A and a distance of 95 kilometers. A submarine is stationed at a point D, which is on a bearing of 200 degrees from A and a distance of 124 kilometers. From B, a ship leaves B and moves directly southwards towards an island P, which is on a bearing of 140 degrees from A. The submarine at D, on realizing that the ship was heading for the island P, decides to head straight for the island to intercept the ship. Using a scale of 1 centimeter to represent 10 kilometers, make a scale drawing showing the relative positions A, B, D, and P. You get 2 marks. So, I was just correcting some place here, which is on a bearing of 140 degrees from A. Fine. Hence, find the distance from A and D, 2 marks, the bearing of the submarine from the ship when the ship was setting off from B, 1 mark, the bearing of the island P from P, 1 mark, the distance the submarine had to cover to reach P. Step 1. Choose an appropriate scale. Scale 1 centimeter equals 10 kilometers. Step 2. Draw the positions of the points. 1. Draw point A. Start by drawing point A on your paper. 2. Draw point B. From A, draw a line at a bearing of 80 degrees from the north line and a distance of 9.5 centimeters, since 95 kilometers equals 9.5 centimeters on the scale. Mark this point as B. Draw point D. From B, draw a line at a bearing of 200 degrees and a distance of 12.4 centimeters. Since 124 kilometers equals 12.4 centimeters on the scale, mark this point as D. Draw point P. From A, draw a line at a bearing of 140 degrees, since the island P is on a bearing of 140 degrees from A. From B, draw a vertical line downwards directly south. Where these two lines intersect is the location of the island P. Mark this intersection P. Step 3. The distance from A to D. Measure the distance using your scale drawing. Measure the straight line distance from A to D. Multiply the measured distance by 10 to convert it back to kilometers. If the distance measured on the drawing is D centimeters, then distance from A to D equals 10 times 10 kilometers. All right. Based on the typical scenario, the distance from A to D should be close to 15.3 centimeters, giving a distance of 153 kilometers. The bearing of the submarine from the ship when the ship was setting off from B. Determine the bearing. Using a protractor, measure the bearing of point D, submarine, from point B, ship, on your scale drawing. Bearings are measured clockwise from the north. Example, the bearing might be approximately 160 degrees, though this would depend on the precise drawing, exact drawing. The bearing of the island P from D. The bearing of the island P from D, submarine. Use the scale drawing. Measure the bearing from D to P. They should be around 40 degrees clockwise from the north. The distance the submarine had to cover to reach the island P. Measure the distance. Use the scale drawing. Measure the straight line distance from D to P. Multiply the measured distance by 10 to convert it back to kilometers. Example, if the distance from D to P on your drawing is D centimeters, then distance from D to P equals D times 10. The expected distance, based on typical geometry, could be close to 11.6 centimeters, giving a distance of 116 kilometers. Final summary. Distance from A to D, approximately 153 kilometers. 2. Bearing of the submarine from the ship, approximately 160 degrees. 3. Bearing of the island P from D, approximately 40 degrees. Distance the submarine had to cover, approximately 116 kilometers. This should guide you through solving the problem with a physical scale drawing. Next question. 1996, paper 2, number 20. 4 towns R, T, K, and G are such that T is 84 kilometers directly to the north of R, and K is on a bearing of 295 degrees from R at a distance of 60 kilometers. G is on a bearing of 340 degrees from K, and a distance of 30 kilometers. Using a scale of 1 centimeter to represent 10 kilometers, make an accurate scale drawing to show the relative positions of the towns. Find A, the distance and the bearing of T from K. Okay, the distance and bearing of T from K. B, the distance and the bearing of G from T. C, the bearing of R from G. And to remove whatever was here. I removed what was here because it was a repetition on the other page. So let's go to the other page. Okay, so we are finding all those things. So A was repeated, so I had to correct that because, you know, I'm teaching on my laptop. Step 1, choose an appropriate scale. 1 centimeter equals 10 kilometers. Draw the positions of towns. Draw point R. Start by pressing point R on your paper. Draw point T. From R, draw a vertical line upwards, directly north, for 8.4 centimeters, since T is 84 kilometers north of R. Mark this point as T. Draw point K. From R, draw a line at a bearing of 295 degrees, measured clockwise from the north for 6 centimeters, since K is 60 kilometers from R. Mark this point as K. Draw point G. From K, draw a line at a bearing of 340 degrees, measured clockwise from the north for 3 centimeters, since G is 30 kilometers from K. Mark this point G. We go on correcting here and written since G. So I have corrected since G is 30 kilometers from K. There was an error there. The distance and the bearing of T from K. Measure the distance. Using your scale drawing, measure the straight line distance from K to T. Convert this distance back to kilometers using the scale or multiplying by 10. Determine the bearing. Using a protractor, measure the bearing from K to T. Bearings are measured clockwise from the north. Example, distance. If you measure D centimeters, then the actual distance is 10D. Bearing. Measure using a protractor from the north direction at K to the line KT. Distance from T to K, approximately 6.7 centimeters, which corresponds to 64 kilometers. Bearing from K to T, approximately 48 degrees. The distance and bearing of G from T, measure the distance. Measure the straight line distance from T to G using your drawing. Convert this distance back to kilometers using the scale. Determine the bearing. Measure the bearing from T to G using a protractor. Typical expected result, bearing from G to R approximately 120 degrees. Summary. Distance and bearing of T from K equals 67 kilometers. So we were summarizing. I was just doing a bit of corrections. There was an error here, there were numbers here. So, final summary, distance and bearing of T from K, distance 67 kilometers, bearing of R from G, bearing 120 degrees, bearing 48 degrees. Distance and bearing of G from T, distance 93 kilometers, bearing 321 degrees. Distance and bearing of G from T, 93 kilometers, bearing 321 degrees. (1997) paper 2, number 23. Two aeroplanes, S and T, leave airport A at the same time. S flies on a bearing of 60 degrees at 750 kilometers per hour, while T flies on a bearing of 210 degrees at 900 kilometers per hour. Using a suitable scale, draw a diagram to show the position of the aeroplanes after 2 hours, 4 marks. Use your diagram to determine the actual distance between two planes, the bearing of T from S, and the bearing of S from T. Plane S flies at 7 kilometers per hour. In 2 hours, it will travel 750 kilometers per hour times 2 hours, which is 1500 kilometers. Plane T flies at 9 kilometers per hour. In 2 hours, it will travel distance equals 900 kilometers per hour times 2 hours, which is 800 kilometers. Choose appropriate scale. Let the scale 1 centimeter represent 100 kilometers, meaning S will be 15 centimeters from the airport and T will be 18 centimeters from the airport. Draw point A by starting by placing point A, the airport, on your paper. Draw the path of the plane S. From A, draw a line at a bearing of 60 degrees measured clockwise from the north for 15 centimeters to represent 1500 kilometers. Mark the end point as S. Draw the path of the plane T. Point A, draw a line at a bearing of 210 degrees measured clockwise from the north for 18 centimeters to represent 18 kilometers. Mark the end point T. The actual distance between the two planes, measure the distance. Using a ruler, measure the straight line distance between points S and T. Convert this distance back to kilometers using the scale multiplied by 100. If the distance measured on the drawing is d centimeters, then the actual distance is d times 100 kilometers. Expected result. The distance between S and T should be approximately 22.8 centimeters on the drawing, which corresponds to 2280 kilometers. The bearing of T from S. Determine the bearing. Use a protractor to measure the angle from the north line through S to the line connecting S to T. Bearings are measured clockwise from the north. Typical expected result. The bearing of T from S should be approximately 142 degrees. The bearing of S from T. Determine the bearing. The bearing of S from T can be found by adding 180 degrees to the bearing of T from S, or by measuring directly on the diagram. The bearing of S from T should be approximately 322 degrees, since 142 degrees plus 180 degrees equals 322 degrees. Okay. There was a repetition here, so I need to correct. The bearing of S from T should be approximately 322 degrees, since 142 plus 180 degrees equals 322 degrees. So there was an error there, I corrected. Summary. Actual distance between the two planes, 228 kilometers. Bearing of T from S, 142 degrees. Bearing of S from T, 322 degrees. So guys, watch the video, comment, and hit that button for you to be receiving videos of this nature. Share with your friends, and let's see, because this one is the first massive tutorial video. Comment please so that I make improvement. Bye bye, and see you in my next topic. I'll just be selecting a few questions.